We already mentioned our 4 arithmetic operations, but we're going to review those here and focus on translating mathematical statements into words and words into mathematical statements. So for addition, we would always write that as something like a plus b, where a and b are the two numbers that we're adding together. Translating that into words, what we would say is a plus b, and the result of completing that operation, completing that addition statement, would be finding the sum of a and b. When we talk about subtraction, that would always be something like a minus b, which we would write out in words as a minus b, and evaluating that arithmetic operation would have us finding the difference of a and b. For multiplication, we have a few different ways that we can express that. We could write axb, which is sort of the basic way that we represent multiplication back in early grades, but we basically throw that out because now that x could get confused with a variable. So instead we use a few different notations, like a dot b with a little dot in the middle to indicate multiplication, or we could write this as a and then b in a set of parentheses. So even though we don't put a specific operator in there, it's implied that when we have those parentheses, what we're doing is multiplying those two values together. We would read either of those statements as a times b, and evaluating that would find the product of a and b. For division, we again have a few different ways that we can write this. We could use a with the division symbol and then b. That would be the same thing as writing a slash b or a over b. So essentially expressing that as a fraction. In each case, we would read that as a divided by b. And when we evaluate that, we would find the quotient of a and b. We have all this language that we can use to talk about those 4 operations. So now we'll look at completing some of those translations. First, taking mathematical statements and translating those into words, and then vice versa. In example 1, we want to translate this expression into words. So that would be 16 plus 21, whether we write the numbers in words or keep them as digits. In example 2, we have 44 and then 18 in parentheses. So that would be 44 times 18, meaning we'd want to multiply those two values together. In example 3, now we're given expressions in words that we want to translate back to mathematical statements. So first we have translate the sum of x and 18. So we want to focus on this statement, the sum of x and 18. Sum means addition, so this would be x plus 18. In example 4, we want to focus on this statement, the product of x and 55. Product means multiplication, so this would be x and then 55 in parentheses. We could also flip the order of that statement and write this as 55 with x in parentheses, or just 55x and drop those parentheses, which we normally do when we have a number in front of a variable like this. We can do this because multiplication is commutative. The same is true for addition. So in example 3, we also could have written this as 18 plus x, and those statements would have exactly the same meaning. In example 5, we want to translate 42 times x plus 29. In this case, we want to infer a little bit that what we're doing is taking 42 times this quantity x plus 29. So this would be 42, and then we would open up a set of parentheses, x plus 29. And we want to note that this is a very different statement than saying 42x plus 29, which in words would be something more like the sum of 42x and 29. So this one gives us a little bit of a trickier problem where we have to infer the grouping of that quantity x plus 29.